The sirens came first, thin knives of sound threading the quiet of Maple Ridge as porch lights blinked awake one by one. Officer Brian Thompson's cruiser slid behind the black Mercedes like a shadow deciding where to fall. The night smelled of cut grass and warm asphalt. A sprinkler ticked in the distance, counting seconds as if the street were a clock. Michael Carter had already brought his car to a careful stop before the red and blue halo painted his rear window. Both hands found the wheel where any camera, dash, doorbell or phone could see them. He'd taught that to interns, to cousins, to himself. Make the picture boring. He inhaled, long and even, and felt the calm he cultivated on bad days settle across his chest like a weighted blanket. He was still in his suit from the late briefing downtown. He'd planned to get off the highway early and cut through this neighborhood because the oaks made an arch over the road. And he liked the way the world felt small beneath them. Officer Thompson approached with a swagger that grew with every step. He was thick-necked, close-cropped, and young enough to want the world to know he wasn't. One hand hovered too close to the holster. The other swung a flashlight beam that skipped off chrome and glass and the quiet, waiting face of the man behind the wheel. "Evening," Thompson said, in a tone that meant the opposite. "License and registration." Michael kept his voice low and level. "I'm going to reach to the glove compartment. Registration is there. My license is in my inner jacket pocket. Shall move slowly." "Slow is good," Thompson said, though his stance shouted faster. "You mind telling me what you're doing in this neighborhood?" "Driving to my home," Michael said. He didn't add that the home was 10 minutes beyond these oaks. He didn't add that he paid more in property taxes than the combined value of 3 houses on this block. None of it mattered in this moment, because moments like this were about what another man decided they meant. Thompson's beam paused on the Mercedes emblem like a jury finding a verdict. "You know why I stopped you?" "No, officer. You failed to signal back there at Willow." He jerked his head vaguely behind them where there were 3 turns and no witnesses. "And you were going 10 over. Michael considered choosing a hill to die on. The dashboard recorder would show the signal. The GPS would show the speed, but the choice could wait." "I understand. I'd like to see whatever documentation you have." "What I have," Thompson said, "is probable cause." He took a half step closer, breath carrying the ghost of coffee. "Step out of the vehicle." Michael unlocked the door, then paused. In the window, his reflection looked back, tie loosened, eyes steady. He could comply without question. He could refuse and escalate. He could do the third thing he'd learned to do when power arrived without wisdom. Narrate truth into a camera and wait for eyes. "Before I step out," he said, "may I ask if your body cam is on?" "It's on," Thompson snapped. "Thank you," Michael said. "Mine is too." The dash mount's tiny green LED winked. From 2 porches down, a doorbell lens blinked and a teen's phone camera joined the constellation of watching eyes. The night adjusted to record. Neighbors had begun to drift into frame, the kind of drifting that pretended not to be. A woman in a robe held a leash attached to a dog that didn't seem to exist. An older man leaned against a mailbox as if it had requested company. The teen in the hoodie lifted his phone higher when Thompson said, louder this time, "Step out." Michael stepped out. The air was warm, the kind of humid that made shirts cling. He kept his hands visible. He didn't look at the gun. He looked at the man. "Spread your feet," Thompson said. "Hands on the hood." "On what grounds?" Michael asked. "You fit the description," Thompson said. "We've had break-ins. Men in suits pretending to be salesmen happens." "Of course," Michael said and placed his hands on the hood. The engine ticked as it cooled, counting again. Thompson patted him down with a thoroughness that outpaced the justification he'd offered. Keys, wallet, the thin rectangle of a phone. When Michael flinched slightly at the suddenness of a shove, Thompson smirked at the audience. "Sensitive," he said. "Careful," Michael murmured, not to the officer, but to the picture being taken of this moment by the street itself. "We're both on camera." "Good," Thompson said. "Keeps people honest." Michael considered the word people, and how it bent in some mouths. He kept his tone neutral. "You mentioned probable cause. Could you articulate it for the record?" "You want a lecture, Professor?" Thompson said. "How about this? Nice car, wrong time, wrong place. Smelled like evasive driving." "Evasive," Michael repeated. "Because I signaled and turned?" "Because you think—" "You're smarter than the rules," Michael looked at the officer's face and saw something he recognized from other rooms, a hunger to be respected by someone he had already decided not to respect. That hunger made men loud. It made them careless. It made them dangerous. "I don't think I'm smarter than the rules," Michael said. "I think the rules are smarter than both of us." The neighbors caught that line with little gasps. One chuckled, then swallowed it. The teen grinned behind his phone. Thompson's ears reddened. "You think you're funny?" "I think I'm cooperating," Michael said. "What are you even doing here?" Thompson demanded. "You live around here?" "I do," Michael said, the truth taking the shape that would calm rather than inflame. "Off Cedar past the park. You working late?" Thompson said, eyeing the tie. "Sometimes late is part of the job," Michael said. "What job?" "Management," Michael said. "Public service." Thompson barked a laugh. "Public service, Mike—" He caught himself, then gestured at the car. "You borrow this from your boss?" Michael met his eyes. "No, I bet you did," Thompson said to the crowd, inviting them to laugh with him. Laughter didn't arrive, but the silence got brighter. "Officer," Michael said quietly, "you're making assumptions, and they're going to matter in about 30 seconds. "Oh yeah," Thompson said. "Why's that?" "Because," Michael said, and finally moved slowly, clearly, telegraphing each motion the way a diver telegraphs to a skittish animal before the water closes. "I'm going to take out my identification." Thompson's hand flew to the holster. "Hands where I can see them." "They will be," Michael said, and reached into his inner jacket pocket, the one stitched shallow so that quick motions were impossible. He withdrew a black leather case, unfolded it and angled it to the body cam. Then the teen's phone, then the doorbell lens humming near the curb. The gold seal caught the patrol car's lights and threw them back. The letters didn't need to be read out loud for their shape to be the loudest thing on the street. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Deputy Director. Something happened to the night then. It inhaled. The dog that might not have existed decided to remain hypothetical. The teen whispered, "Huh," with all the vowels. Thompson froze in a tableau that would loop on the internet by morning, mouth slightly open, eyes narrowed as if squinting could subtract reality. Pride and panic fought across his face like two storms colliding. Michael didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He pitched it the way he did in rooms where mistakes had expensive consequences. "Officer Thompson," he said, having read the name off the badge during the pat-down, "you have just profiled and detained a federal law enforcement executive without reasonable suspicion. You have implied criminality based on vehicle and appearance. Your body cam is recording, so is mine. So are 4 private cameras within 20 yards. I'm going to ask you now, clearly for the record, what is your justification for this stop?" Speeding," Thompson said, then heard the thinness of it in his own ears. "And failure to signal." "Call it in," Michael said. "Run the plates. Then we'll talk." The radio's static filled the pause like a conscience clearing its throat. Thompson's partner, who had stayed in the car a beat longer than protocol liked and was now emerging with the posture of someone reconsidering a career, cleared his own throat. "Maybe, and we do that, Bree." Thompson's jaw worked. He retreated, muttering into the mic. The dispatch reply came crisp. "Plate to Carter. Michael A. Registration current. No wants. No flags." "Copy," Thompson said, and wished he could return the words for store credit. "Thank you," Michael said to the air, because sometimes gratitude was a tool. The mailbox man spoke for the first time, voice gravelly with retirement. "Son," he told Thompson, "I'd apologize while apologizing's cheap." Thompson rotated slowly back toward Michael, as if the street had become a turntable, and he a record doomed to play a specific humiliation. "Look," he said, "and maybe this got sideways." "What got sideways," Michael said, "was your impulse. We can steer it straight." For a moment, Thompson looked like he might try to bluster his way out. The instinct twitched, then died, strangled by the badge he'd seen. He swallowed. "Sir, Deputy Director, I misread the situation." "You misread me," Michael said. "The situation is fine. It's a warm night. People are watching. Everyone wants to go to bed." "I'd like to resolve this," Thompson said, voice smaller. "So would I," Michael said. "Here's how. First, you return my documents. Second, you state for the body cam that I am free to go. Third, you listen to one thing I'm going to say, and you're going to hear it because you'll need it." Thompson nodded like a man who had located the cliff edge with his toes. Michael tucked the badge away with the same calm he had taken it out. "You cannot let your idea of someone become your reason to act on them," he said. "That will end your career or someone's life. You think you're firming up. Order, you're breaking it. If you want to go home safe and proud of your shift, start with humility." The line landed. It didn't bounce. It rooted. "Sir," Thompson said, and meant the word differently than he had 10 minutes ago, "you are free to go." "Thank you," Michael said, and turned slightly to address the neighbors. "I appreciate everyone watching. Keep watching. Not for me, for you. Cameras don't make a community safe, people do. But cameras help people tell the truth." He got back in the car. The engine's hum sounded like relief. He signaled, because he always would, and merged back into the small road and the bigger world. The video posted by the teen, captioned with "ruthless economy," he flashed what? Hit 70,000 views before midnight. By morning it had a soundtrack and 3 remixes. The comments divided into camps. Finally someone humbled a bully. "Not all cops, not all deputies. This is staged. This is why cameras matter." Michael didn't read them. He drank his coffee and went to work. Work sat in a federal building of glass and steel that pretended transparency while deflecting heat. In the morning briefing, Michael's name was mentioned by a chief of staff with a sideways smile. "So you made friends online," the chief said. "They'll forget me by lunch," Michael said. "Then avoid giving them dessert," the chief said. Internal Affairs from Riverdale PD reached out about a consult. They want someone neutral to look at footage patterns. I said we'd recommend a firm, not you. You're a little close to the subject. Good, Michael said. I don't want to be the story. He meant it. He failed. By afternoon, the mayor's office had called, polite but urgent. The council wanted to demonstrate accountability without admitting fault. The chief wanted to demonstrate federal cooperation without entanglement. A joint listening session materialized on next week's calendar, like a thunderstorm on a Doppler. Colored, moving, inevitable. Michael drove home a different route, avoiding Maple Ridge. He had no interest in restaging last night's theater. He arrived to find 2 reporters parked like gulls near his driveway. His neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, stood at the property line with arms folded, protecting the boundary with the ferocity of someone who once defended children for a living. "He's not giving statements," she told the reporters. "You can quote me. He's busy doing his job. Are you?" Thin-side, Michael took off the suit like armor removed after a battle you didn't plan. He steamed vegetables, burned chicken, and ate an apple standing up. The quiet felt borrowed. His phone buzzed. "Unknown number." He almost didn't answer. He did. "Mr. Carter, this is Diane Love, City of Riverdale. Internal Affairs." Michael said nothing for a beat. He had imagined anger, deflection, a spin. The voice carried none of those. It carried the fatigue of a person who has seen a leak and wants to fix the pipe, not the headline. "We're conducting an expedited review," she said. "Not because of your position, because of the footage. I'd like to meet, off the record. I need advice on the kind of mistake that doesn't show up in policy, but lives in practice." "I'll meet," Michael said. "But I'm not your cudgel." "I don't need a cudgel," Love said. "I need a wrench." They met the next morning in a cinder-block room painted an institutional optimism. Love wore no illusions on her sleeve, just a blazer and a notebook with careful tabs. She played the body cam clip on a laptop. Thompson's approach, his tone, the moment the badge shone like a lighthouse for a drowning pride. "We can write this up 6 ways," Love said. "Insufficient cause, bias indicators, failure to articulate." He'll fight the bias clause. He'll swallow the articulation clause. None of that prevents the next officer from making the same error. How do we change the reflex? "Oh, don't start with the glossary," Michael said. "You start with the mirror, meaning this lesson can't be don't harass the deputy director," Michael said. "It has to be don't harass the person you think can't hurt you. Shift the imagined consequences. Make the invisible camera visible." Love wrote it down. "Training? Not PowerPoints," Michael said. "Scenarios. Reps. Identify the moment where assumption takes the wheel and rehearse pulling it back. And you need a second thing. Reward the officers who de-escalate before status appears. Make that the story in squad rooms." Love shut the laptop gently as if closing a small animal's eyes. "Will you say that at the forum?" No, Michael said. She looked up. I'll say it to your officers, he said. Not to cameras. The forum arrived anyway. Gymnasium acoustics, folding chairs, microphones that fed back just enough to remind everyone this was temporary. The mayor said the words mayors say. They floated like helium and bumped the rafters. The chief promised a review. Michael sat in the second row, not the stage, and listened to the community speak. A teacher said she coached her students on how not to scare men with guns. A retired Marine said he never thought he'd fear lights behind him more than flashes in a desert. To a teenager, the teenager said, with an earnestness that forced the room to be kind, "We shouldn't have to be lucky that the person you profile has a title." The applause that followed was ragged and real. When Love asked Michael to join a closed-door training the next week, he did. He stood in a semicircle of uniforms and watched the way shoulders held weight. He spoke for 10 minutes about impulse, humility, and the physics of respect. He watched officers resist and then soften when he described wanting to go home undamaged, and how that was, in the end, the same thing. Thompson wasn't in that room. He was in another one with a union rep and a departmental lawyer, describing how the street had conspired with a camera to make him look like something he wasn't. The lawyer advised contrition. The rep advised silence. Thompson did both. He said nothing and felt sorry in private in a way that performed nothing for anyone. He watched the video again that night alone and flinched each time the badge caught light. He tried to imagine how the clip would look if the man had not been who he was. The imagination made him sick. He drafted an apology he didn't send. He drove past Maple Ridge after his shift and saw the mailbox man watering a hedge as if hedges were thirsty at midnight. He kept driving. The IA report landed heavy. Suspension without pay, remedial training, a performance improvement plan that read like a cliff's edge. Social media had moved on to a school board scandal and a raccoon trapped in a vending machine. Real life hadn't. Mrs. Alvarez brought Michael a pie he didn't need and a hug he did. "You kept your cool," she said. "That taught more than your badge," Michael smiled. "The badge made them listen. The cool made them learn," she said. 2 months passed. The training curriculums changed. Officers grumbled and then got used to a new thing the way people do, by narrating it until it felt like a story they'd always known. Love sent Michael a note. "The scenario days are working. We had a rookie stop a judge's son for a taillight. He handled it by the book, which means he handled it like a human first. You were right about mirrors, wrong about wrench. You're a level, it keeps us honest." Michael replied with thanks and the insistence he delivered to everyone who tried to staple praise to him. Make the habit last. Make it boring. On a Tuesday edged with rain, Michael was driving home when a cruiser slid behind him again. He felt the old breath catch and let it go. The light stayed off. The cruiser passed, then slowed. The officer inside glanced once, saw nothing except a car like any car, and drove on. Michael laughed alone like a man recognizing a joke no one meant to make. 2 weeks later, a letter came addressed in thick, careful pen. "Mr. Carter, Sir, Deputy Director." Inside, Thompson's handwriting leaned like a man learning to stand in unfamiliar wind. He had been through the training. He had spent a month doing community service with a mentorship program that paired officers with kids who avoided them on instinct. He had sat with a mother whose son did not come home because another officer somewhere decided danger looked like him. He had learned to make coffee for the dads at the rec center without trying to befriend them before being useful. "I can't undo a night," the letter said. "I can do this job better tomorrow than I did it yesterday. I am trying. You didn't humiliate me. I did that to myself." You held up a mirror. "Thank you for not breaking it over my head." Michael read it twice, then a third time, then folded it in half and slid it into a drawer he used for things that were both private and public. Commendations, a child's drawing left on a podium, a schedule from a memorial. When the teen who had filmed the video asked to interview Michael for a civics project, Michael said yes on the condition that the story be about what changed, not who glowed. The teen nodded like someone being given a map when he'd expected a selfie. His finished project included an unremarkable stop, conducted precisely by the book by a rookie, who would someday be a good sergeant, because he learned to say, "Evening. I stopped you because here's what happens next. Do you have any questions?" The project won the regional competition. The teen messaged Michael. Sir, they clapped at the part where the officer said, questions. It sounded weird, people clapping for a question, but I think it was about being seen. Michael messaged back a thumbs up, and then replied with actual words because people deserved words. That's exactly what it was about. On a late summer night, turned to those same oaks, Michael parked and walked the 2 blocks home. A cruiser rolled by and did not slow. The mailbox man lifted 2 fingers in a lazy salute that meant, in the dialect of old men, we made it through something. Michael lifted 2 fingers back. He slept hard and dreamed of streetlights that hummed like choirs. Months later, at a graduation for a new class of officers, Love asked Michael to stand in the back and watch. He did. She handed out certificates and told a story about mirrors. The rookies listened with the focus of people who know the next story they star in could be an ending or a beginning. And the difference might be a habit, a sentence or a breath. After, a young officer approached Michael. Sir, she said, nervous and direct, is it true you told Thompson humility was how to get home proud? I told him it was the only way I knew, Michael said. She nodded. I wrote it on an index card. It's on my dash. Good, Michael said. Now make it boring, she laughed. Yes, sir. He walked into the evening that had started as if it had always planned to be kind. He believed, not naively, but with the practicality of someone who had seen systems bend. A single moment handled well can ripple. A single habit rehearsed enough can become culture. A single street can teach a city to look again, and sometimes, when the night tries to count seconds with sprinklers and mistakes with sirens, a man can hold up a badge or a mirror. And the difference between the two will be how much truth the other person is ready to see. Michael had learned to carry both,